Hello students, in our previous lecture we are start our unit number first in paper first, that is assessment under income tax section 140A, 143, 144 and 153. Okay, section 140A for self assessment. Okay, self assessment under section 140A says that every assessee before filing income tax return under various sections wise 139, 142 subsection 1, 148 or 153A is supposed to find whether he is liable for any tax, interest or penalty and fees. This type of income tax assessment is the one in which the assessee calculates the tax by himself, usually to accompany his calculation with payment of the amount he regards as due. Tax payable is required to be furnished under section 139 or section 142 or section 148 or section 153A. After taking TDS and deductions, advance tax paid. Okay, so self-assessment means the assessee has to calculate his total income by himself and furnished the information under section 139 or section 142 or section 148 or 153A. Okay, so here assessment, self assessment is a calculation made by a assessee of total income after taking into consideration the conditions given here. So we also studied these conditions. For example, TDS is deducted from total income. Advance tax paid by assessee is also deducted from his total income. Any relief of tax claimed under section 89, relief of tax claimed under section 90 or 90A, deduction of tax claimed under section 91. Okay, all these conditions we are studied in our previous lecture. Okay, just we make a revision of this point. Then we study the assessment. Okay, assessment under section 143. Assessment, in assessment we also study the summary assessment. Summary assessment means the preliminary assessment without calling the assessee, that is taxpayer, without calling the assessee or taxpayer. Okay, assessee is also called taxpayer. Okay, so here uh, summary assessment is the assessment. The general scrutiny is carried out to discover the basic errors. Some adjustment, if necessary, are done to complete the correct income tax. The following are the adjustment if required, namely. Okay, so this adjustment we are also studied in our previous lecture. Here an arithmetical error in the return. Okay, second one is an incorrect claim which is apparent in the income tax return. Third one is the loss claimed or the loss carried forward of any previous year in return shall be disallowed if income tax return is filed after the due date specified in section 139 subsection 1. Okay, next one is disallowance of expenditure indicate in the audit report but not taken into account in computing the total income in the return. Okay, so disallowance of expenditure indicated in the audit report but not taken into accounts. Okay, so the expenditure shown in the audit report but not claimed while preparing income tax return shall be disallowed. Okay, and next one is the disallowance of deductions. Okay, so various deductions claimed under section 80 shall be disallowed if such return is furnished after due date specified in section 139 subsection 1. Okay, so these all are a deductions which is taken by the SEC under 80. Okay, so the deduction of under section 80 is disallowable if the SEC file a income tax return after the due date under section 139 subsection 1. If any income found in form 26 AS, okay, so here the term incorrect claim apparent from any information in the return shall means such claim on the basis of any entry in the return. So here, if any income found in form 26 AS or form 16 or form 16A but details not furnished while computing the total income shall be added. Okay, next one is an item which is inconsistent with another entry. So another entry of the same or some other items in such return. Example, suppose in ITR 4 the other heads of income like income from other source, capital gain, etc. are deducted from calculation of PGBP, but the same are not added back in calculation of respective heads of income. Okay, so this is the summary assessment. Summary assessment means a general scrutiny carried out to discover the basic errors in income tax return. Next we are studied the mandatory processing of return income tax before issuance of assessment order. Okay, so here order is given. Okay, section 139. Okay, section 143, sorry, section 143 subsection 1 requires processing of return of income filed under section 139 subsection 1 or in response to a notice issued under section 142 1. And second one is an intimation has to be prepared or generated and sent to the SEC specifying the sum payable or the refund due to the SEC. यामध्ये काय केलं जातं तर मॅन्डेटरी प्रोसेसिंगमध्ये जे काही सेक्शन 143 सबसेक्शन 1 आहे त्यानुसार प्रोसेसिंग केली जाते इन्कम टॅक्स रिटर्नची. या सेक्शननुसार काय केलं तर नोटीस इश्यूड केलं जातं SEC ला. सेकंड आहे ते म्हणजे SEC ला इंटिमेशन दिलं जातं किंवा the intimation has to prepared or generated and sent to the SEC. त्याचं इंटिमेशन जे आहे ते SEC ला सेंड केलं जातं की किती टॅक्स तुम्ही पेएबल करायचा आहे किंवा किती टॅक्स तुम्हाला रिफंड होणार आहे हे त्यामध्ये सांगितलं जातं. थर्ड वन इज नो इंटिमेशन कॅन बी सेंट आफ्टर द एक्सपायरी ऑफ 1 year from the end of the financial year in which the return is made. This is provided in the second provision of section 143 subsection 1. तर फायनान्शियल इयर संपल्यानंतर नेक्स्ट फायनान्शियल इयर असेल ते संपल्यानंतर SEC ला कोणतंही इंटिमेशन दिलं जात नाही. हे कोणत्या प्रोव्हिजननुसार सांगितलेलं आहे तर प्रोव्हिजन अंडर सेक्शन 143 सबसेक्शन 1. त्यानंतर आपण पाहिलं तर regular assessment or scrutiny assessment. Okay, so regular assessment, for regular assessment a income tax officer has to be appointed by the CBDT to act an income tax authority for the purpose of section 143 subsection 2 considered it necessary or expedient to ensure that the assessee has not understated his income or has not computed excessive loss or has not underpaid his tax in any manner, he can issue a notice for making the assessment in the normal manner as at present. Okay, so scrutiny assessment. In scrutiny assessment, the income tax officer has been appointed by the CBDT to check the total income of the assessee, where the assessee will understated his income in the filing a income tax return, or the assessee has not computed excess loss or has not underpaid the tax. Okay, so the uh, assessing officer or income tax officer can issue a notice for making assessment in the normal manner as at present. Okay, so this is the scrutiny assessment or regular assessment. Okay, and in scrutiny assessment we also study this chart. Okay, now the process of assessment or the best judgment assessment. Okay, process of assessment is not in our syllabus, but best judgment assessment is in our syllabus. So this first three points is very important for best judgment assessment. When so here the best judgment assessment are mandatory in all the three cases stated above. It means there's all three cases. Okay, so we highlight it by yellow color. Okay, so here these all three cases. For these all three cases, the mandatory best judgment is required by the AO. So here it is mandatory for assessing officer to make a best judgment assessment, and he has no discretion to make such assessment. These three cases are alternative and not cumulative for the purpose of making an expert assessment. Okay, so best judgment assessment means where any person fails to make the return required under section 139 subsection 1 or 139(4) subsection 4 or 139 subsection 5, depending upon circumstances of the filing a income tax return. Second one is fail to comply with the all the fail to comply with all the terms of the notice issued under section 142 subsection 1. Okay, and all the terms of notice issued under section 142 subsection 1. Directions issued under subsection 2a of the section or fail to comply with all the terms of notice issued under subsection or section 143 2. Okay, so these are the 3 points is very important. For these 3 points, the mandatory best judgment is required by the AO. Next one is opportunity being heard. The assessing officer, after taking into all the relevant materials which he has gathered, shall, after giving the assessee an opportunity of being heard, not necessary in case where notice under section 142 subsection 1 is already served, make the assessment of the total income or loss to the best of his judgment, and determine the sum payable by the assessee on the basis of such assessment. Okay, the assessing officer gather all relevant materials which is provided by the assessee and give the opportunity to the assessee of being heard. It is not necessary in case when the assessing officer issued a notice under section 142 subsection 1. Okay, so the assessing officer make the assessment of his total income or loss to the best of his judgment. Okay, and determine the sum payable or sum tax payable by the assessee on the basis of his own best judgment. Then the best judgment assessment means evaluation or estimation in the context income tax law of income of the assessee by the assessing officer. The assessing officer will not act dishonestly or he will give his best judgment. Okay, so the assessing officer will give the best judgment according to the information gathered by the assessing officer. He will not act dishonestly. Okay, and he gives a best judgment on the assessing income tax return. Now today we are going to discuss the time limit for completing assessment. Okay, in best judgment we also study the two types of best judgment assessment, that is, okay, in best judgment we also study a two types, that is, first one is compulsory assessment. Okay, compulsory best judgment assessment, compulsory best judgment assessment, compulsory best judgment assessment. Okay, so compulsory best judgment assessment we also study. It is a type of best judgment. Okay, best types, best judgment types. First one is compulsory and second one is discretionary based judgment. Okay, second one is discretionary based judgment assessment. We all these two types are studied in our previous lecture. Okay, compulsory means it is the judgment in which the assessing officer make the judgment when the assessee is neither not cooperating or when the assessee has defaulted in supplying any information. It means in compulsory based judgment assessment the assessee has not provided a adequate information during filing income tax return. The assessing officer will make a best judgment on the basis of the information provided by the assessee, or if any assessee is defaulted, then assessing officer if any assessee is defaulted in providing the information relating to his total income, then the assessing officer make a compulsory based judgment on income tax return. Next one is discretionary based judgment assessment, means it is the best judgment assessment which is being done by the assessing officer if there is a consistency in the method of accounting. Okay, inconsistency in the method of accounting. Discretionary based judgment assessment means the judgment of done by the assessing officer if there is inconsistent method of accounting when the assessing officer is not satisfied, or the assessing officer is not satisfied by the information provided by the assessee, so he will make the discretionary based judgment assessment. He means AO, or the income tax officer. Now we are going to discuss the time limit for completing the assessment. Here first point is given, uh, for self-assessment tax, there are no specific dates to pay self-assessment tax. Payment of self-assessment tax and non-filing of returns should be paid within 31st July of every year. For this purpose, Section 140A has been introduced in Income Tax Act. Okay, the time limit for completing assessment here for self-assessment, there is no specific dates to file a income tax return, and non-filing of the returns should be paid within or filed within, okay, or filed within 31st July of every financial year of the uh, every financial year. For this purpose, the section of 140A has been introduced in Income Tax Act 1961. Second point is given here, assessment under section, okay, assessment, under section 143 subsection 3 and under section 144 should be completed within the 21st month with effect from WEF, with effect from 1st July 2012, from the end of the assessment year in which the income was first income tax was first accessible. Okay, so here assessment under section 143 subsection 3 and section 144 should be completed within 21st month, okay, with effect from 1st July 2012, from the end of the assessment year in which the income was first accessible. Third one is C. Further, this time limit get extended to 33 months from the end of assessment year if a reference is made under section 90 CA to the, okay, transfer pricing officer during the course of assessment proceedings. And fifth one is assessment of the return can be done in two immediate consecutive assessment year after end of the previous year for which return was filed. Okay, these are the time limits for completing the assessment. Okay, so no specific, for self assessment no specific dates are given, but those assessee who not file a income tax return will paid or file a income tax return within the 31st July of every financial year. Assessment under section 143 subsection 3 under section 144 should be complete within the 12 months, okay, 21 months with effect from 1st July 2012, from the end of the assessment year in which the income was first accessible. Next, third point is given here. The time limit get extended to the 33 months from the end of the assessment year if the reference is made under section 92 CA. Okay. Fourth point is also given here. Transfer pricing officer during the course of assessment proceeding. Transfer pricing officer during the course of assessment proceedings. Fifth point is given here. Assessment of the return can be done in two immediate consecutive assessment year after end of the previous year. Okay, so these are the time limit for completing assessment. So here in our today's lecture we are complete our unit number first in paper first, that is assessment procedure or assessment under Income Tax Act 1961 section 140A, 143, 144 and 153. Okay, in our next lecture we are studied the unit number second in paper first, that is penalty. Okay, penalty under Income Tax Act 1961, and the sections is given. Okay, the section is given in your syllabus, that is penalties liable under income tax, section 271B, 271D, 271DA, 271E. Okay, these all sections are related with failure to file income tax return, failure to get the accounts audited under section 44AB, failure to comply with the provisions of section 269 SS, 269T and 269 ST for accepting and repaying loans and deposits, as well as concealing the particulars of income or furnished inaccurate particulars. Okay, so if the assessee will not file a income tax return within the due date, then the income tax has penalized this assessee. Okay, so we understand the penalties if the assessee did not file a income tax return, if the assessee fails to get accounts audited from chartered accountants, okay, under section 44AB, and failure to, if the assessee is failed to comply with the provision under section 269 SS, 269T and 269 ST for accepting and repaying loans and deposits, as well as concealing the particulars of income. If the assessee has concealed the particulars of income, then the income tax authority will make a penalty for that income from the assessee. Okay, so we understand the meaning of penalty. In another words, in simple words, penalty means punishment given by the income tax authority to the assessee or to the taxpayer if he did not file return within due date, he did not get accounts audited under section 44, the assessee will not comply with the provisions which is given here, and concealing the particulars of income. Okay, so in our next lecture we are studied the unit number second in paper first, that is penalties liable under income tax. So here we complete our first unit in paper number second. Thank you very much.